Hi everyone, I'm Damon, and my evil stepmom and stepbrother kicked me out of the house so they can sell our house and buy their dream boat. But then, I decided to become a pirate so I could save my dad from them. First things first, shout out and credit to Felicia Whipple 77. Today's story is inspired by your title idea. Remember to post your new title ideas in the comments below. It needs to be an original story, something we haven't done already. Give a like to the ones you would like to see animated. For the most active members who create very popular titles, we will contact you to join a secret server on Discord to offer you behind-the-scenes access. For now, let's jump straight into today's thrilling story. I miss my mom. I miss her a lot. Mostly because I loved her, and she was an awesome mom. But partly because her replacement was a greedy, evil woman who came with a greedy, evil son. I never even tried to call Daphne mom. Neither would I ever call Danny my brother. Dad keeps telling me I should. But why should I? They've always hated me, and Daphne's always tried to get rid of me. Every time Dad was away on a business trip, the pair would bully me. They would sometimes lock me in my room until Dad arrived, and they starved me. Whenever Danny and I would get in a fight, Susan would just laugh and let him beat me up. Some days, she'd even hold my hands behind my back so her son could kick me without facing any resistance. I tried to tell Dad, but he never believed me. Danny? He's just a sweet little kid. Why would he ever hit you? And why would Daphne ever let that happen? She adores you. But Dad... Look, son, I know you miss your mom. I miss her too. But you have to stop making up stories about your stepmom and your stepbrother. You have to accept them. You have to accept that it's just us now, and that Daphne's your new mom, okay? Dad never really saw those two for who they really were, because in front of him, they acted like angels. Who could blame them? That was stinking rich, and if they wanted any part of Dad's fortune, of course, they had to act all holy. But then, one day, Dad's fortunes took a turn for the worse. His business collapsed. We found out that he'd been in a lot of debt this whole time, and because of Daphne's expensive tastes, he plunged into even more debt. When he lost his company, the bank started to repossess a lot of his stuff, all his vintage cars and Mom's old jewelry, the plane, the holiday houses. All that was left was the mansion we lived in. And due to the stress of losing everything, Dad started losing his vision. First, he went blind in his right eye, and the left soon followed. Dad was at the lowest point in his life. Some days, I would tear up just watching him silently cry as he stared blankly at the garden. I took care of him as best as I could, but my evil stepmom and stepson would always take him away. Now that he's lost everything, they were getting desperate. I'm certain they're planning something. I just need to find out what. I'm hoping they don't try and kill my dad for his insurance policy. But before I could even investigate about what their plan was, it revealed itself to me. Because as it turned out, I was the plan's intended victim. Daphne must have put something in my dinner, because I don't remember much after heading up to my room. And when I woke up, I found myself in a speedboat, all tied up. The people who threw me overboard were all masked up, but I'd recognize Daphne and Danny's voices anywhere. They thought I was still out cold, so I heard them discussing their plan the whole way. Mom, what if he asks where Damon is? Shush! Didn't I tell you I've thought this through? My plan is foolproof. We'll just tell him Damon's gone to college. He won't suspect a thing. The guy believes every word that comes out of my mouth. Plus, the universe is sliding with us on this one. Now he's blind. He won't even know what's happening around him. Then, we can convince him to sell the house so I can finally have my dream yacht. So why are we taking him with us then? Can't we just dump him somewhere? I'm really tired of calling him Dad. He's so lame. You idiot! We can't just dump him. We need him. How do you think we're going to be able to live the high life without his money? Sure, he's broke now, but once he croaks, his insurance is going to be one fat check. We have to make sure he changes his beneficiary. We have to be in his will and not Damon. Ah. And that was the last I heard before I felt myself being hoisted up and thrown over the boat. I would have drowned. If it weren't for the fact that Danny wasn't the sharpest tool in the box. The guy didn't even know how to do a simple knot. So as soon as the speedboat sped away, I wriggled out of the ropes fairly easily. I swam to shore, and when I got there, I realized I didn't know where in the world I was. Until 5 minutes later, when a blinding beam of light shone directly into my face and I heard men yelling. 2 seconds later, I was being grabbed and shoved onto the back of a pickup truck. The people who took me were scary. They had masks on and they carried weapons. I didn't dare make a sound. They took me to a dilapidated building near the coast. They signaled for the guard to open the gates, and the guards did an inspection before letting us through. And then, I met their boss. I almost laughed when I saw her. This is your boss? She was tiny, and she looked like she was about 12. But before I could even open my mouth again, the little girl had already crossed the room and planted her knee in my stomach. I doubled over in pain. Sorry, I didn't mean... I know what you meant, but trust me, I can beat you or any man around here. Don't let my size fool you. How? But... Shush! Nobody gave you permission to speak. You are in my island, and nobody gave you permission to be on my island. Now, you have two choices. Work for me, or die. It wasn't a difficult choice. I wasn't in a hurry to die, so I worked for them. I soon found out that the island was home to a small community of poor people, and the group that found me were the protector of the island. They were pirates, and their boss, even though she looked like she was 12, was actually 20 years old, and she was the baddest girl I'd ever met. I mean that in a good way. Annie was 15 when she became a pirate. She was the daughter of the former pirate king of the islands, and when he died, she promised to avenge his death and protect her home, and she's been the pirate queen since. She made me work for my food and lodgings, and it was very hard work. I scrubbed decks and peeled vegetables, and cleaned whatever needed cleaning. And through it all, I got to go on raids with them. I found out that the reason Annie and her gang had to be pirates was because massive corporations had been trying to poach their island's resources for as long as they can remember, and when they fought back, they got kidnapped or killed. The few people who still lived there were poor because the corporations do their best to make sure they stayed poor. The bigwigs are hoping that one day they'd be desperate enough to sell. But Annie and her pirates stopped that from happening. By targeting the yachts of the rich and evil, they gave back to their people, and they didn't starve so much. Annie and I became very close, and she taught me everything she knew. Soon, I became one of them. I became a pirate too. We'd board evil guys' yachts and steal from them, and whatever we got, we distributed amongst the people on the island. When Annie finally learned about my story, and the father I left behind, she vowed to help me. With her connections and her spies, I learned that Daphne and Danny succeeded in their plan. They told my dad I'd gone to college, and they convinced him to sell the house. They even hired someone who sounded like me to call Dad and tell him I was okay with him selling the house. Thanks to Annie, we found out which yacht they were sailing with, and I was so relieved to hear that Dad was still alive. I just knew he wouldn't be that easy to convince about leaving me out of his will. What Daphne and Danny didn't know was that I still had my trust fund, and the moment I turned 21, I got access to it. I used that money to help the people on the island. In exchange, I could get Annie and the pirates to go on an adventure with me. We tracked down Daphne's yacht, boarded it, and the pirates commandeered it back to shore. I told Dad everything that happened to me. Everything those two did. He didn't believe it at first, but Annie and my fellow pirates convinced him it was true. And finally, he believed me. The moment we got close to shore, the two begged me for forgiveness. They begged me to let them stay. But I instructed the pirates to throw them off the boat before we even docked. If you put one foot on this land, I'm sticking the cops on you. Now, you better get swimming. Closest island from here is that way. I didn't actually care what they did. I just wanted to use the pirate crew to scare them. All I really cared about was taking care of my dad, and getting back the things that were once his. I sold the yacht, and I bought Dad his house back. With what was left of my trust fund, I started a business with my dad, and I created a charity that safeguarded Annie's island. Annie's crew are conservationists now. That way, they wouldn't have to be pirates anymore, and the island could prosper and be protected from greedy hands. I got Dad the treatment he needed, and slowly but surely, his eyesight is coming back again.